The next feature I would like to talk about is Keystore Password External Store. This is a feature that is very handy for those of you that have databases that are encrypted with TDE. This feature came into the database in 12.2, and it is something that you can use with TDE Tablespace encryption. If you're using one of our OCI cloud offerings, this comes as part of your regular license. But for all the other databases and for your on-premises databases, this requires Enterprise Edition and the Advanced Security option. If you're used to work with encrypted databases, you're familiar with the administer key management commands. And often when you use that, you have to specify the key store in order to allow operations into the key store. And you will need to specify the Keystore password. It could also be that you're creating a pluggable database based on another encrypted PDB. And in order to import the encryption keys, you need to specify the Keystore password. As you can see here, the Keystore passwords are written in clear text, and that's not very secure. Someone might see the Keystore password on your terminal, or if you have the commands stored in a script, or if you're using some sort of external scheduler, you would need to set the Keystore passwords in those tools. That's not very secure. So imagine if you could do this instead. Use the same administer key management commands or create pluggable database statements, but instead of specifying the Keystore password in clear text, you could simply write external store. Now, what does external store mean? Well, basically, it's simply just an auto login wallet that the database can use to store the Keystore password. Now, the external store is a very little file that is stored in the operating system. You should protect the file, but the file itself is actually also encrypted with an encryption key that only the database knows. So the Keystore password is safe while it's stored in the external store. But it's much easier for you to use because you don't have to specify the Keystore password. Now, a lot of the commands that require a Keystore password can use the external store, but for security reasons, some commands still require that you have to type in the Keystore password. Now, this solution allows you to have proper separation of duties in your organization. You can have one set of DBAs that are managing the encryption part. They have access to the key store and know the Keystore password. And you can have another set of DBAs or application people that can create new pluggable databases, even though they are encrypted. In addition to that, if you have scripts or if you're creating pluggable databases from other tools, you don't have to hard code your Keystore password in the scripts or in the tools. You can simply use the external store instead. And you can avoid having to type the Keystore password in clear text on your terminal. I've prepared a little demo where I can show you how you can easily set up the Keystore Password External Store and use it to create an encrypted PDB without specifying the Keystore password. So let's see how it works. This is a container database, and I'm using a regular auto login wallet. In Pdb1, I have one tablespace sysox that is encrypted with TDE. Now, to set up Keystore Password External Store, I first have to create a folder in the operating system where I can store it. And I then tell the database where it should store it. It's a static parameter, so when I set it up for the first time, I have to restart the database. After that, I can tell the database to store my Keystore password in the external store, and I do that by adding a secret. And when I use for client TDE wallet, I tell the database that this is my Keystore password. After that, I close Pdb1, I unplug it, and I drop it. And then next we can start to create new PDBs using Pdb1 as a template. So for the first example, I'm going to be creating Pdb2, and I'm specifying the Keystore password in clear text. This is what you would normally do, and that's not very secure for the reasons that we just talked about. But notice that when I create the next PDB, I'm specifying external store. I can still create the PDB even though it is encrypted, and I don't have to specify the Keystore password. So this is much safer. And just to be sure that it works, I'll open the pluggable databases. I can see that that they are using the Keystore. The new Pdbs are using the Keystore. And the tablespaces, sysocs, is encrypted in those two new Pdbs. So everything works. I can still create new encrypted Pdbs, even though I don't have the Keystore password. So for those of you that are using TDE, this is a really good solution that can make your day-to-day life much easier and much more secure. And actually, I see this as a must-have for those of you that are using TDE and have automation where you need to use the Keystore password to, for instance, create new pluggable databases.